Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, Male Role Models in the Workplace, Education, and Family. Today's webinar is part of a series of events to celebrate Men's Health Month. Men's Health Month is an opportunity to highlight some of the issues and concerns that those who identify as male face. And so today's webinar in particular is a chance to learn how we can become pillars in our community through positive role modeling as we celebrate positive male role models in New York City's workforce. And truly, these positive role models are everyday heroes. And so my name is Darwin Blanc. I am a citywide wellness coordinator, and part of my beloved duty is, helping to bring wellness across New York City agencies. So again, thank you for joining us today. And here's a little bit more about WorkWell. So WorkWell NYC is New York City's workplace wellness program for city employees. It's our vision to have the healthiest workforce in the nation, and these are our 5 areas of programming. We have our Move More program, which provides resources and opportunities to help City of New York employees get moving at every level of fitness and at every ability wherever you are, whether you're at home, whether you're in the office, or whether you're even on the go and you're commuting. And we also have our next program area, Eat Well. So Eat Well really focuses on healthy eating. We provide fun tools, activities, and resources to help you eat well, as well as healthy eating workshops and webinars, so you can bring that into the workplace as well. And you might even know some of our live cooking demos. So those are some of the things we offer for Eat Well. Our Take Action programming, it makes preventing illness easier by offering workplace screenings, vaccinations, and other helpful tools to connect you with the information you need to get healthy and stay healthy, especially during these times. We also have our Be Well program, which supports employees' emotional, mental, and social well-being, promotes access to mental health benefits, and creates inclusion and stigma-free work environments. And here we have Project Build, which is our newest program area. So Project Build, which stands for Building Understanding, Inclusion, Learning, and Diversity, is an initiative that serves to provide a platform for dialogue to amplify unheard voices, to create community, and also develop solutions to long-standing problems. So again, this is WorkWell, and we're so excited to have you. And here is a little bit more about what we're doing this month in June. So this June, WorkWell NYC is shining the spotlight on 2 very important topics. Today, you're joining us today for Men's Health, but we're also celebrating Pride this month. And it's more important now more than ever to create a supportive workspace and also create supportive communities that are respectful and inclusive. We're right in the middle of June, so it's not too late to participate in a Pride event. You can visit nycpride.org for a list of upcoming events that you can participate in today. And you can also join us as we walk with pride and celebrate all the things that uplift, support, and reflect not only pride, but also well-being. So take a moment to visit and check out this nifty walking guide. In the walking guide, you'll find an opportunity, many opportunities to visit areas that honor the history of the LGBTQIA+ Pride movement. You'll have the chance to visit many significant landmarks throughout New York City. So it's definitely an opportunity not only to, learn a little bit of history, also get moving while you're doing it too. And as I mentioned before, remember it's more important now more than ever to create supportive workspaces and communities that are respectful and inclusive. So wherever you are, remember that you can be an ally in support. Wonderful. So here we go. Now we're going to really start getting also into the meat of today's webinar as well. And I'm super excited to introduce to you our featured guest, Mr. Michael Dees. He has come here to, drop some knowledge on us and share with us his wisdom. So Mr. Michael A. Dees is the director of the Urban Male Leadership Program at Lehman College of the City University of New York. He continues to create an abundance of programs across the Lehman campus, as well as other Black Male Initiative campuses as well. And he's always putting the needs of his students first. He's also an adjunct professor of the Africana Studies Department at Lehman College and Social Work Department at the College of New Rochelle. Prior to his appointment as director of the Urban Male Leadership Program, he was the New York City Director of Social Work for the Administration for Children's Services Juvenile Justice Initiative. And so we're super excited to have him. I see someone wrote in the chat, Bronx Pride. So yes, Bronx Pride, there we go. And I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to hear from him on the impact of positive male role models in our communities, in every community. And I'm also grateful to all of our attendees that have taken the time to join us today as well. We have our attendees here today. If you like what you're hearing so far and want to join more conversations like these, you can do it so by following us on the gram, Instagram that is. We appreciate every like, we appreciate every comment and follow. So please do follow us on Instagram and also take some time to join our mailing list. That way you can stay up to date with all the happenings that WorkWell is bringing your way. So during our discussion, all participants will be muted. However, you can place any questions, any comments that you might have in the chat. You could also use the Q&A feature. And also feel free to ask for a friend if you'd like as well. So today we'll really get this conversation going, and we'd love to hear from you, hear your ideas, and also hear some of the concerns and questions that you have in particular. Today we'll be answering questions about role models, mentorship, and leadership, the differences and the similarities, qualities of an effective role model, and how we can improve some of those qualities we might already possess ourselves. And we'll also look into opportunities for being a role model so we can put everything that we learned today into practice. So role models are a lot like superheroes. Here we have a quote from Sonia Sotomayor. She is an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. And this quote reads, "But a role model provides more than inspiration. His or her very existence is confirmation of possibilities one may have every reason to doubt, saying, yes, someone like me can do this." So if you think back to a time where you may have achieved something great, whether it's graduating elementary school, graduating high school, college, or even after going for your master's, whether it was getting a new job that you've always wanted, the first time you learned to ride a bike, the first time you learned to drive and got your driver's license. You might also remember someone who stood by you, someone who showed you the way and believed in you. And that's the power of a role model. And really from this webinar, that's sort of the power that we'd like to help elicit as well. So think about, who do you consider to be a role model? No matter your age, whether it's now or while you're growing up, who do you consider to be a role model? And who are you a role model to? So what is a role model? So by definition, a role model is a person whose behavior, example, or success is or can be emulated by others, especially by younger people. A role model is someone who inspires others to imitate his or her behavior. And so role models show young people how to live with integrity, optimism, hope, determination, compassion, and they really do play an essential part in a child's positive development. Role models come into young people's lives in a variety of ways, which we'll learn today. They can be educators, they can be civic leaders, they can be fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, clergy, peers, athletes, ordinary people that we encounter every day. And so here we have, these are the results from a 2008-2009 State of Our Nation's Youth Survey conducted by Peter D. Hart Research Associates. This survey surveyed over 1,000 high school students across the country, and it questioned who they select as a role model. So in the study, students agreed with the statement that a true role model is not the person with the best job title, the most responsibility, or the greatest fame to his or her name. So that really gives us hope that anyone can inspire a child to achieve their potential in life. And that is what we hope to show you today. So we have Mr. Michael Dees here today to share with us how we can be that inspiration and be that example. So Michael, let's talk. I think it's important. I think this is a very important conversation for us to have. We have gotten some great questions from employees across the city. So let's get started. One of our main questions that we received from City of New York employees is, what is the purpose of male role models and why are they so important?
Yeah, well, first I want to extend, a great thanks and such a great time. We're upcoming soon Father's Day. So I want to first say to all the fathers out there, happy early Father's Day. But going back to your question, I believe the purpose, of a male role model, it serves as a positive example by influencing others. To me, strong male role models are essential for men, young boys, as it helps to shape their emotional maturity, which, unlike puberty, does not happen automatically. So, I always look at and respect every culture has present rules of what it is to be a man. Young boys need to be taught these values to evolve as a man, they need to be. So, I can remember all the positive role models within my childhood, growing up in Brooklyn, throughout my adulthood. My biological father, who I love and respect, he was a very positive man, but he was absent in my formative years. But one dynamic role that my mom made sure is that she surrounded me as a young man around positive men to give me what I knew that I needed to survive as a young boy growing into adulthood. So I feel that, it's vital to be the best role model to help shape our young boys and even the men that around us, the young boys, so that they can behave, in an appropriate way in school. It forms relationships and it even allows the young boys, when they're faced to make difficult decisions, that what you have now surrounded and inspired them, they would somewhat do. So I feel the purpose of a male role model is meant to show other young men, young boys, how to live with integrity, hope, optimism, compassion, and determination. That was what was provided to me. Positive male role models can significantly affect the lives of the men and young boys looking up to them, for anyone. But because of what we're celebrating within men, I focus in that gender. But they play an essential role in the positive development of anyone looking up to them. Male role models can come into your life in different ways. They can be educators, managers, leaders, fathers, peers, clergy, just ordinary people. So that's what I really look at when you talk about what's the purpose of a male role model.
Absolutely. I think one of the key words that you use when thinking about, role models is, how, the key word you use, the adjective here is positive,
Yes.
So what would you consider to be some of the core qualities that really do contribute to creating that positive?
Sure. Yes.
Maybe like 3 key characteristics.
Sure. So I feel some of the major qualities that I bring forth as a male role model. It is one to just demonstrate confidence and leadership. Don't be afraid to be unique. Communicate and interact with everyone that you surround yourself with. Show respect, concern for others, and do good things outside the job. There are many agencies or volunteer programs that you can do as a role model to help so many individuals who may not have. So I think that, working in these type of great areas can enhance the qualities to become a great male role model.
Absolutely. One of the things you mentioned is community service.
Yes.
Yeah, I've always been taught that, just giving back to the community is, something that we can always do, even in the smallest of ways. You mentioned that, you in Brooklyn. I'm Haitian. I also grew up in Brooklyn. And, leading into our next question, as a Haitian growing up, some of the main examples that I had looking up to, were my father, was my mother, and also when we're thinking about male role models, again, also my older brother. And as we move into the next question, how can, how can a male begin to emulate positive role modeling when it comes to healthy eating? Because I feel growing up in my culture, healthy eating may not have been at the forefront per se. I was eating according to my culture, but now how can we take that a step further and begin to truly begin to eat healthy and be a role model that emulates that healthy eating?
And I truly concur with you. I can remember when I was a younger man, I was attending college, and I was working full time and taking care of my family, all of those 3 components. And so I would always, somewhat under that particular type of stress, eat unhealthy. I would go to grab something on the go, or if I was skipping meals. But I think that as I began to learn from a nutritional course at college, how to incorporate a better diet. So I think as a male role model, it's always great to see what type of courses or what type of programs that's offered through your employment or through various local community areas that can provide you with healthy eating. And we live in a world where everything is fast food. But that nutritional course, it allowed me to somewhat put a healthier diet platform, and that was over, Darwin, maybe 20, 25 years ago. And to this day, I continue to eat healthy with that regimen. So at one point, just as you made mention, I was eating just on the go. But once I identified, hey, if I want to be here, if I want to, see my young children, if I want to continue to be at the great job that I'm a part of, I must eat healthy. So I began to look at making sure to eat a healthy breakfast, and that was where I looked in the studies where skipping breakfast, it detracts from scholastic development. So I wanted to make sure if I incorporated any type of eating that I start off with a great breakfast. And then I looked at eating in a healthy lunch manner. It's that if I had to have something fast food, if it was pizza, that, I would look at, making just with the cheese and not other additives, looking at staying away from the vending machines. So it was just really, as a male role model, looking at how to change my diet plan. And, within my culture, as I stated, I think in all various cultures, we have, some type of indicators from just the genetic code. So when I look at with my family, the diabetes and heart issues and so forth, I wanted to make sure that I, as a male role model, that I continue to pass great eating, healthy habit eatings to my children, which they have incorporated. In my family, I have said to numerous individuals, you shouldn't be eating that. You should cut back from that. So I think that as a male role model, that is very important to, lead by example. So if I have to nibble on something because, I'm at the job and I'm now in a crunch time because I have to get something, to get that adrenaline, I want to make sure that I have healthy snacks around me. I want to make sure that I consume myself with really 8 glasses of water, because it also too incorporates with that healthy eating. If you consume yourself with water daily, I've noticed you will have to get up at some point to go to the restroom. So now your body is giving a type of different movement. It's just so unique. We can this question. I'm sorry to keep going on, but I really enjoy that in my life, to really incorporate that healthy eating. And then what do? You treat yourself. So if you do like sometimes those type of meals, which I do, that we know we should stray away from because of our culture and so many yes, that's when you treat yourself. So you give yourself, but you should also incorporate with all of the healthy eating, diet, great exercise as well.
Absolutely. When you mentioned treats, and I always like to treat myself to a nice plate of oxtail, rice.
Yes.
But yeah. Well,
and I'm sorry, and I as well. In my culture, I love the Southern food, but I also love Italian food. That's one of my great dishes, and I love going into so many cultures. I love to try out every culture food. I feel that once you bond with someone in their culture with their eating, you've somewhat bond with a new friend. So yes.
And one thing you mentioned is that when you were in college, you really took the opportunity to learn to improve how you can begin to eat healthy. And I think that gives a lot of people hope. The fact that you can always take an opportunity to really begin to learn how to develop new eating habits. And as you mentioned too, when with the people, our children, the youth that we surround ourselves with, we pass down a lot more than just genetics and such. We also pass down our eating habits as well, and they pick up on those. Can you begin to also talk to us a little bit about physical health, and how we can begin to be what sort of behaviors we can begin to implement to be an effective role model for physical health?
Yes, and with the physical health, that is also a part of healthy eating. Physical health and healthy eating, I always say it goes hand in hand. And so I feel, as an effective role model, it's great to create boundaries and systems, and routines for success. So for me, I had to create within my boundaries of employment and my boundaries of mentoring and with my family. I had to incorporate two great components with physical health, and that's exercise and I call relaxation training. And with that, it's where I incorporated the physical activity, where it helps improve my mood. I found that exercising every day, even under this COVID, I get out every day. I'll mask up and I'll take my physical health walks. Those walks, Darwin, they just give me so much of just, it's almost like just taking everything of the day, and it's like you're just walking it out of your system. So the exercise, I make sure that I have that included within my boundaries. If the weather is not great, I find that I would do something inside. But when I look at the exercise, when I focus on my body, as I made mention, it's attached to the mind, so it just takes away my worries of the day. And I often say I was not that type of super athlete growing up. My siblings were, but you don't have to be a super athlete to just really find some type of exercise that you enjoy. I also say that, for me, the basic walking that I do for like about an hour, it just gives me my mood sensation. I've also taken dance classes. I played volleyball. I joined a swimming team. And I'd say these things because these are just some of the things that I found that it gave the body some great movement. But then some people may say, well, I don't like being around a lot, and definitely with the COVID. I say to them, rent a DVD. If you have, we're now in this technology, look on YouTube and find various different training workshops, exercising tapes that you can do right in your home, right in the comfort of your home.
Join a work well class.
There you go. and then I also say, when I said with the relaxation is something that is so needed for the body. So if you look at exercise, yes, exercise can, take away, the whole day, your day, but that it's something also about giving you that relaxation. Relaxation can come from just sitting down, getting some tea, in a quiet place. I'd say refrain from the caffeine, taking a nice warm bath. It's just something about, I know like I said, everything is fast moving. We're into these showers, but if you have a tub at home, I found sitting sometimes and just in a nice body of warm water, just nice mood music, it just gives something of relaxation. Find a quiet place, find a nice magazine. That's that relaxation training. And then when you put those type of physical and relaxation training in your schedule, in your boundaries, you would find as a male role model, you are just really giving yourself some great rejuvenation for the next day, for your family, for so many great things ahead.
That's true. You had mentioned two things. The first being exercise and the second being relaxation. And I think that's a great avenue into our next question, when it comes to mental health and managing our mental health and also stress management. What can we do as male role models, to improve upon, how we manage our stress and mental health? What can we do to work on that? That way we can be better role models.
Yes. And really, before we go into that, question, as a licensed social worker for the state of New York, I'm always reading so much of topics just on mental health. Last month, how we celebrated, not celebrated, but mental health awareness. So I just wanted to just let you know that nearly 1 in 10 men experience depression and anxiety. According to a poll of 21,000 American men by research at the National Center for Health Statistics, nearly 1 in 10 men reported experiencing some form of depression or anxiety. So I just wanted to just let it be known that mental health is such a vital component of overall wellness. And sometimes it's overlooked as something in our characteristic as men that we should not talk about. So I think that, it's very important that when we look at the mental health, the stresses of the day, I personally have 2 areas within there that I do for myself when this is a part of my circle of living. So I look at meditation and prayer for me. And I always see that, Darwin, is a way to offer me some calmness. I found that meditation and prayer for me, it has given me where I can kind of channel in and focus where my thoughts are. What brought me into this type of place? Meditation to me is something where you can really find a quiet place and begin to just close the eyes, to begin to breathe at a slower pace. And so I always look at that as something very soothing for me. Now, when I look at it on the macro level or the therapeutic level for men as a male role model, I always allow individuals to know how important did you today get that checkup from the neck up. So the checkup from the neck up for me, Darwin, it may say, okay, you just really need that meditation and prayer moment. And that's great. But then that checkup from the neck up for me as a male role model to help myself and others, it may seek where I may have to speak to someone at the job, where I always encourage individuals, wherever you are, if you're on the college campus, make sure you know where the counseling department is. If you're at your job, make sure that you stop over to human resources to find out if you all have an EAP. If you are not involved with your urgent care, find out from your primary doctor the local areas that may have counseling or therapeutic type of care for individuals who may fall into an area where meditation and prayer might not be the remedy. So I really take the mental health as all areas as a male role model to help others. But I always like to make sure that individuals really get to where the problem stems from in the mental health and seek that type of assistance. Because let it be known that as I always encourage men to speak and seek help, because the worst thing it is to stay silent. Darwin, when I grew up in the early 60s, now I'm giving you my age, but when I grew up, Darwin, in the early 60s, I grew up where men are supposed to carry everything within and never release anything out. So the mental health, all it did for me, even growing up, that's why I said education is so important, because education is something that everyone should involve themselves with, because it really gives you a different change of life. So it allowed me to understand that, wow, that's why so many men that I knew of, they didn't know how to really work with the anger, and it becomes anger management, because mental health is something that is a very silent, I won't say killer, but it is a silent aspect within. And when it then begins to erupt, if you are not careful, it can destroy the family, it can destroy you from the great work that you are supposed to do at your employment and if you are in school. So I always tell individuals, please make sure to stay healthy in the mind and the body, seek support sooner rather than later. And it's always so great to reach out as a male leader to say, can I help you with something? Because I notice that there's something not going on today.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned was that, how, sometimes not taking care of your mental health or, some of the things that one may be dealing with can begin to, show in other ways, and it can enter, as we are talking about today, it can begin to enter, the workforce, education, and family. So we do have a question here, which is also related to our next question. How can you address what can be called toxic masculinity or misogyny, like in either the workplace, but overall, how can we really be, how can we teach men who are, who may be in leadership positions or upcoming positions, or just male role models in general in the workplace? What behaviors can we begin to implement to become role models in the workplace as men?
Yes, and that's so crucial and so important. And for me, I have to look at that. To be a role model in the workplace, I take it in all areas. You have to be able to understand how to serve as an example. And therefore, to be a better role model in the workforce, I feel that there's some characteristics that one must take in that professional behavior at all times. And so when I look at, it's important to be a source of knowledge. You see, a male role model leader must always be able to understand how to help their coworkers at the jobs, how to lead their coworkers, and how to be able to let those individuals know when they have a question that if you don't have the answer, see, I'll come back to you with that answer. So I think that a source of knowledge, I think being reliable, being accessible to your coworkers and to individuals in your workplace, it gives them the understanding that when they need help, that you're there. I have been at Lehman College for well over 2 decades. And every place, Darwin, that I have worked in, people always, they tell me, we just enjoy being with you. And this is, Darwin, people of all different ethnicities, because I feel that when you are a dynamic role model, you do not select who you want to be around. A male role model, and definitely in the workplace, it must surround themselves with everyone. So I also feel being a positive influence, knowing how to impact people and make sure you don't let them down. We are all unique in our own great way. We as you may mention earlier, we're celebrating Pride Month. We're celebrating so many different areas within the months of the year. And I think that when you look at, Hispanic heritage, African-American heritage, our Jewish culture, our Italian culture, we can go on and on. As a male leader in the workplace, you must be able to be a positive influence to everyone you engage. And you must understand how to communicate more. Create an open door policy for everyone if you are a manager. If you're not a manager and you are just working in the workplace, as a male role model, begin to talk to everyone. Find out and learn various cultures. That is how I feel in the workplace. And lastly, do what you would want others to do. So, someone always say, you're a great leader, but you love to give out assignments. We never see you roll up your sleeves and help us with the assignments. A great male role model, Doran, should always be able to roll his sleeves up and help his team, because that team will always be able to then emanate what you're doing and roll their sleeves up and help you. So I think that a good role model leads by example, as I stated earlier. And, these are the steps that I continue to implement in my walks at the workplace and throughout.
Yes, I like the analogy you use, rolling up your sleeves.
Yeah.
Can you give us also, leading into our next section, talking about the home. Can you give us two main ideas of what we can do to, become better role models at home?
Yes. Well, I'll definitely refrain to the two, but I want to say this, and this is, Doran, what I perceive. One thing that I always perceive, that most men, they believe that being a good provider is that's all is needed to be a role model in the home. But that is not so. I think that in the home, that, to be a better role model, the man should definitely contribute to the emotional, to the spiritual, to the physical, mental well-being of his family. So when I look at that, how then I think that fathers, men who are within their families should lead, one, by example. I always say that. But then they should begin to always be able to teach their children by examples. So not being that type of father to say, don't drink and drive, but teach that child why he or she should not drink and drive. Teach that child why you're saying that homework is important. Darwin, when I was at home, I would have my daughters around me when I was doing my schoolwork. And I would ask them the question, and they were little, Darwin, and they would say, Dad, I don't know what are you saying? And Dad, what's that big word? But Darwin, what I was doing was I was teaching my children that, education is so important. And that right there, Darwin, has led them to go on to do greater things within higher education and within their workplace that they are doing. So I think teaching your child, being involved, not just telling them what they should do, but being a part of the teaching. And then the attitude. We men, we always want to have that machoism. And I'm not saying all of us, I'm just speaking from me. And I think that, that mild type of attitude, that mild mannered type of attitude is something so great. I have so many great leaders. It goes to the Kennedys, it goes to the Clintons, and I could go on and on. But when I look at how Dr. Martin Luther King, one for all people, he had such a mild mannered attitude. And Darwin, I think that when I'm in the family, my children, my wife, they're looking up at me as to, let me see how his attitude will be with all of these areas. And so I can just say that when a man can really put that, can-do attitude for his children and for his wife, teaching them that being negative will only create more negativity, they will begin to understand how to get out into the workforce, how to go into the college arenas and really develop that beautiful attitude. And lastly, manners. A father, to be the best or the better role model in the home, he must begin to understand how to demonstrate manners to his children. My mannerism, I go out to let my children know. I let my staff know. I let people know that, it's great to open the doors for our women. It's great to open the doors and help seniors. It's great to help, individuals who may be mentally challenged or not doing well. And so I love that question because, I feel, that as a father, to hear my daughters say to me, "Hey, Dad, we love you, man, and we thank you for what you're doing." My daughters, I have just that quality time, and I know a lot of us men, we love sports and we love to, possibly maybe, do things with the boys, as we call them, or our friends. That's great, but what I have learned, Darwin, that taking those, components that I just said and spend it with my family and just evolve with that, it has just brought my family and I so close together. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Michael. For the sake of time, we'll try to answer some maybe two to three more key questions.
Okay.
But one of the questions that we did have also was, in thinking about education, how can we pursue career and education goals while also balancing family life? If you can.
Yes. So as I made mention, I think that I talked a little earlier about how I was, one of the fathers that, I went into education and job and family. And I think that what's really, really, is important is, education. I don't care where you are in life. I tell people, take a moment and expand your circle with education. But here's what I look at with that when I went back into college, I wanted my family to be involved in this. And so to balance education and work, as I may mention, getting your family on board. Family buy-in is so crucial. Talk with your spouse, and especially, with your children, and talk through how going back to school will even affect them. I made sure that, doing things with them is even while I was in school. And that's why it goes back to healthy eating, giving yourself that checkup from the neck up, because all of these things. So for me, saying, okay, I'm going to have a little downtime. Let's go to Great Adventures. Let's go to maybe Barnes and Nobles and sit down and, just pick up and do some reading. Just bringing the family within that circle. When I made, great grades, I would tell my daughters, "Thank you." And they say, "Thank you for what, Dad?" I said, "Look, you helped me get an A." And they was like, "We did? You did?" I said, "Because you gave me that support." I said, "Sometimes when I had tension, you would rub my little forehead." I told my wife, so I always involved them. And then when it came to the job, I wanted to make sure that my managers understood. I wanted to make sure that all of my work, that I did a desk audit, because these were the college was something that I added into my life. So I wanted to make sure that that additive, that I succeeded with it. So my manager was always involved. I didn't want to sneak around and say, "Oh, I'm going to go full time," but not involve my manager. Mm-hmm. I wanted to allow my boss to know, so that my boss can either be with me or not with me, but I would know how to then begin to proceed. Fortunately, I always had the type of managers that said, "Hey, we're with you. Just let us know ahead of time." So I think that working with, because I know we're looking at the time, but working and putting all of those things in advance, plan your absences on your job so you will not, become into, having late issues, and then just making sure that you involve your children. And I always put on my graduation caps, thanks to my family and thanks to my, my manager, because it was those individuals who then began to help me. So you can balance your life with adding education in that, higher education.
And for our which is quite twofold, which can be also quite heavy, this question. How is being a male role model different than a female role model in today's society? And connecting that question with, how are, what if there's a lack or absence of male influence, and how are boys or men affected, by being raised by only a single mother?
Okay, wow. So that I have to probably come back with those because I hear it's questions and questions. But to get to the first question, I think that gender roles are primarily influenced by the media, family, environment, and society. It brought me to an area where I remember Ben Stiller's movie Meet the Parents, and the joke was so much continuously on him because he was a male nurse. And so definitely not a non-macho type of occupation. But I must say that some men have traditionally avoided jobs in that arena. Now, take it back from me. I'm a licensed social worker. Social workers are, as they would state, more where we have more women in that field than men. But I found that, when you look at various type of roles, women have historically been perceived as more nurturing than men. And so for that, we tend not to go into those roles that we feel that leads to more of the or the traditional that's not traditional for our masculinity. But luckily, those stereotypes don't really reflect the reality that men are also entirely capable of enjoying and succeeding in non-traditional careers. I've made the example of myself as a licensed social worker, and I love that field. That field, you would look at it and would say it's more dominated by women. But I feel that whatever field you choose, you have to look at not looking at it from a gender perspective, but looking at, is this something that I want to do, not for the rest of your life, but is this something that I want to do to contribute to mankind? And so that's my pretty much answer on that I feel that a lot of men are going into various fields and they're going very confident and they're going strong.
Yeah. So, yes.
And I know that you made mention of another question. I was trying to capture that question.
No, yes, I think you did capture that question as well. So we do have roughly 6 minutes left in time. So do you have one final tip or word of advice for us? We can take a minute to address.
Yes, I do. At the college, I am a part of where I've created a mentorship program that it's called the Circle of Support. And so what I encourage individuals to do, for me, I feel that if you are looking to be a male role model, or if you are looking at becoming a model for anyone, begin to look at the various mentorship programs, YMCA, various programs that you can then go into and help others. Because mentoring, I have witnessed with so many of the students that have graduated and have come back. They have basically stated how they have helped so many others, how they've gone back to their high schools, how they've gone into some of the men's shelters, how they've gone to various of their local churches to help someone. So I feel that when I grew up, as we talked earlier, that individuals were my role models, but also they were my mentors, and they have instilled something so unique within me that I must pass on to others. So I just want to say that I thank you for allowing me to share a message during this time. And I hope that this conversation brought some awareness to healthy living, and also, to always remember your stress levels. That's for anyone. To eat healthy and to spend quality time with your family, to exercise, to rest, and more importantly, listen to your body and be sure to get regular checkups. And not only will you live longer, you'll have a better quality of life. Remember, the greatest wealth is health.
And
Once
there you
again,
have
I
it.
thank you so much, Darwin.
And there you have it, everyone. Mr. ADs, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We are short on time, but please continue to stick with us. We would like to take this opportunity to celebrate New York City's men's health heroes, our everyday heroes. So these are men who are nominated by New York City employees, and they have been an inspiration in the lives of their coworkers, families, and friends. So this is what a health hero is. And so we'd like to share with you those who were nominated. Thank you so much. And so these were nominated. They were nominated because they have, been a motivation in other people's lives, their coworkers, colleagues, help them live healthier lives through healthy eating, physical activity, mental health management, and more. We would like to highlight 3 men because they've taken what it means to be a role model to the next level. So please join us in congratulating Mr. Leon Radramotu, Derek Aiken, and Akeem Brown. So these 3 men, from the nominations that we've received, they've been nominated by employees, and we feel that they have taken what it means to be a role model to the next level. So please continue to stay tuned. Year after year, we'll continue to build upon, this men's health hero, and recognize everyone who is, a role model. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can be a role model when it comes to health, please become a Work Well New York City champion. If you're enthusiastic about your health or want to change the way men look at health, this is the place for you. You can sign up here at this link, which we'll send over to you. We have some of the upcoming events. Stay tuned for our men's health webinar, our final series of the month, which will be a webinar replay on Wednesday, June 23rd. We have a live cooking demo on July 13th through August 10th. So this will be a series of cooking demos. Please also feel free to join that. And we also have Throwback Thursday Music Edition. So if you love good music, this will be the place for you to take part in. And also we have our digital classes. There are free fitness, meditation, and self-massage classes, all here to assist you with becoming a better role model for those in your community, a better pillar of support. So definitely please join those as well. And again, thank you for participating and joining us today in today's webinar, Male Role Models in the Workplace, Education and Family. Mr. Michael A.D.'s, thank you for joining us as well. And to all the role models, happy Father's Day. Please enjoy the rest of your week. And we hope that you took something special away from today's conversation.